Welcome to the program. I am Okpeyemi Owushini. We start off with business news. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has finally agreed to sell petrol to members of the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria at 995 naira per litre. Now, this comes following the intervention of the Department of State Services in the squabble between the two parties. The National Vice President of IPMAN, Ahmed Fashola, disclosed that the intervention of the DSS solved a lot of challenges facing marketers. Fashola also confirmed that through the intervention, the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority agreed to pay the association's outstanding 10 billion naira while resolving issues about the direct purchase of petrol from the Dangote refinery. The IPMAN boss emphasized that IPMAN is interested in prices that will be competitive, saying the price disparity has been a disadvantage to independent marketers. And wealthy Nigerians earning 100 million naira and above monthly will face a 25% personal tax income if a new tax bill is passed by the National Assembly. Now, this was disclosed by the chairman of the Presidential Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms Committee, Taiwo Oyedele, during a breakout session at the ongoing 30th Nigeria Economic Summit organized by the Nigerian Economic Summit Group and the Ministry of Budget and National Planning in Abuja. According to him, 90% of the current taxpayers are people who should not be taxed. He advocated for a more streamlined and equitable tax system in the country. Oyedele emphasized the need to strike a balance between easing the tax burden for lower income earners and ensuring that the wealthy contribute more to government revenue. We'll go on a break now and be back with more stories in the corporate world.
Corruption not in my country.
Hello, Alhaji. Right now I'm in Abuja. No. Hello, Adamu. Right now I'm in Kano. Yes. When I get back, I will just call you. Look, what is wrong with you? I'm talking on the phone and you are gesticulating and doing. What's wrong with you?
Daddy, where exactly are we as we speak?
Are you alright? This is Lagos.
Well, you just lied to someone that we're in Abuja.
Keep quiet. Who told you can tell an elderly person is lying?
Daddy, you just lied. And by lying, you're raising corrupt children for the future of Nigeria. That is corruption, not in my country.
Corruption not in my country.
Welcome back. Transcom Power PLC has announced a 153% growth in its revenue to 223.6 billion naira in the third quarter ended September 30, 2024. In the statement issued with its fourth quarter 2024 unaudited result, which was filed with the Nigerian Exchange, Transcom Power stated that there was an improvement from the 88.4 billion naira it had in the third quarter of 2023. Profit before tax for the period surged by 198% to 81.1 billion naira when compared to the 27.3 billion naira in the same period in the previous year, while profit after tax rose by 186% to 58.5 billion naira from 20.4 billion naira in the third quarter of 2023. The company's total assets increased by 62% to 362.5 billion naira from 223.4 billion naira as of December 2023. Nigerian Breweries PLC has announced the extension of its ongoing rights issue program to October 18, 2024. Now that's following approval from the Securities and Exchange Commission. The rights issue was initially set to close on October 11th. According to the statement signed by the company secretary, the extension is intended to compensate for disruptions caused by recent public holidays, ensuring that stakeholders have ample time to participate in the rights issue. The company launched its 599.1 billion naira rights issue on September 2nd, offering 22.61 billion ordinary shares at 26 naira 50 kobo per share. That's utilizing a ratio of 11 new shares for every 5 held as of July 12th. According to the Managing Director of Nigerian Breweries PLC, Hans Esadi, the capital raising exercise became necessary due to the significant losses incurred by the company after the devaluation of the naira. We'll go on a short break now, but when Money Matters returns, we'll be discussing the IMF announcing reducing costs for countries borrowing from it. I'll bring you details of this and more after this break.
In the last 3 years, we have built a multi-purpose center, which is the envy of all in our constituency. And I can tell you that the people who are living there are already enjoying it.
Guy, do you think what this man just said is true? See, I seriously doubt. I'm sure it's one of those their silly lies.
And wait, do you know there's a way to find out if these things he's saying is true or not? This is the Construct app. It gives people like us a sure way to track implementation of constituency projects. It gives valid and verified information on location of projects, amounts allocated, amount funded, the level of job done, and even the profiles of concerned legislators. You and I can post directly on this app.
Are you serious?
This is the Go-To app if you want to know how our Commonwealth is being expanded by the government.
Wow. Let's even see if what this man said is true. Show me.
The Construct app is developed by Other Paper Nigeria with support from USAID and is available on both Google Play Store and Apple Store.
And it's true.
Of course, I told you.
Welcome back. The International Monetary Fund has announced it is reducing the cost for countries that borrow money from it by up to 36%. In a statement from the global lender on the review of the charge and subcharge policy, the fund disclosed the challenging global environment coupled with high interest rates necessitated the reduction. According to the statement, changes were made to how much the charges on loan, which will lower the borrowing cost by 36%, saving countries about $1.2 billion each year. Now, let's discuss this further. Economist Femi Oladele now joins me on the program. Thank you for joining me on the program, Mr. Oladele. Now, how significant do you think a 36% reduction in borrowing cost will be for countries that are currently in debt?
Okay, thank you so much. And the way you have framed it makes it look like good news. Unfortunately, I don't see it as good news, although it looks like it's going to be picking up very soon, pretty soon. But I think we should go back to why we even have those conditions in the first place, which is that many scholars, many public policy experts have said that the IMF is not doing the right thing by having those charges in the first place. So coming to say that they are reducing it by 6%, it sounds normal given the economic situation. And I don't think that countries or governments should begin to be happy or rejoice that this is happening. This is something that should have happened a long time ago. Most of those charges should not even be there in the spirit of redistribution of global wealth in the first place. But yeah, some governments would definitely enjoy from this reduction, and it's a good one for macroeconomics of most economies. But I believe that it is IMF is a bank, and they will do the best thing to remain in business. I believe that this is just one of the methodologies, one of their strategies to remain in business, not necessarily because they want to assist, as we tend to think about it. Thank you.
Well, which countries do you believe will benefit the most from the reduction, and why?
I think that the countries that would benefit significantly are those who are like the highest debtors at this time. I currently don't have all of the data, but I believe that countries that would be significantly indebted to the IMF would be maybe Egypt, Argentina, a country that is also going through economic stress at this time, maybe Pakistan and Ukraine. Yeah. I know there are some countries also in West Africa that might be significant. I don't know so much about Nigeria's exposure, but I know that those countries would be beneficiaries in the long run, yes.
Well, you just mentioned that it is not a good news. So then, what long-term implication could this reduction in borrowing cost have on the fiscal health of the countries that benefit from it?
Okay, thank you. like I said in my first response, I don't want us to see this as good news. So imagine that it's a charge that should not be there in the first instance. I use this analogy. If I am doing the job of a supervisor, but being paid the salary of a cleaner, let's say I've done it for 5 years, and in the fifth year, my boss comes and says, "Oh, you're getting a promotion, you now get the salary of a supervisor." That's not a promotion. That's the job that I've been doing over the 5 years. So this charge in its entirety should not be there in the first instance. So saying that we're reducing it by 30, they rather are reducing it by 36% is not something that we should be happy about or that we should see as good. They should do better than that, actually. Because if we're in 2024 now, we're talking about global wealth redistribution, moving the global south and the global north. We want to see how we can make them, at least to a large extent, so that we can bring them together and reduce the economic gap between them. And so this is a good step in the right direction, but I don't want us to see it as a blessing in itself, because it should have come a long time ago, and there is no significant addition that this would do. Many countries are already suffering. You know, the Nigerian situation, that even before this current administration, we had like 90% we're using to service debt and all of that, although that's all of the debts. But many of the countries that are indebted to the IMF are struggling at this time. And so reduction would give them some ease. But like I said, I don't think that ease will be significant to stimulate economic activity, because those debts are going to be repaid, whatever the case is.
But how do you view the necessity of maintaining some charges and surcharges, and what role do they play in the IMF financial stability?
I believe that loans can be given with reasonable charges. Yeah, that's fine. It helps you to keep going. Also, it places a responsibility on the governments that are receiving those loans to know that, oh, we have to make good use of this, which is a different conversation entirely, but it places some kind of financial stability in the market, which is good. But the issue is that these charges that we're actually talking about, that they're reducing 36%, is not the interest on the loans, actually. There are some conditions that governments have to meet, and based on the ratings, there are some thresholds that you have to meet. There are some prepayments that you have to guarantee and all of that. So those are the charges that they're actually talking about, not the interest on the loans in itself. And so those charges, in my opinion, they are not charges that should be there generally, except for countries that have shown, or governments that have shown consistently that they're not going to repay their loans. We don't need those charges if we want to say that we want to break or bridge the gap between the global south and the global north. So those charges are significant for IMF to continue to borrow. That's what they will say. I don't agree, and that's a personal opinion, very subjective. But I believe also that having interest on loans is good for the market.
Given the current global economic environment, do you think this move is timely? And then how do you think it might affect countries struggling with inflation and economic recovery?
Yeah, thank you for that question. This is like a necessary surgery. You know, okay, so let me use this analogy. I like to use this analogy a lot. A pregnant woman can decide elective surgery to give birth. And she picks the date, she can pick the staff, she can pick the time and all of that. But when it becomes a situation of emergency, that pregnant woman can no longer make those choices. So that's what IMF is doing at this time. There is no choice anymore. Most of the economies that are indebted to IMF are already clamoring for it. So it's not like they sat down and did and made the choice for an elective surgery to salvage the situation. It's a fact that there is nothing that can be done than to reduce it. Else, many countries will begin to default. And so it's not a situation of, oh, we have planned this out and we are giving you this because we want to contribute to sustainability and all of that. I believe that they are doing it now because there is no choice. It's a business, it's a bank. That's the only thing they can do at this time, basically.
You would agree with me, Mr. Ladile, that the IMF has faced criticism regarding its lending practices. Now, do you think this particular change in policy will address some of this criticism? If so, how do you think that it will address it?
I don't think it would address them. I think this is just much more like giving us something to hold on to, something to talk about, and something to say, oh, I did my best, I've tried for you, and those kind of conversations. But significantly, especially for developing countries, there is a need to reimagine how the IMF deals with those countries and those economies, especially with respect to macroeconomic indices. And so it's easier, for example, if the US or Canada chooses to take a facility from the IMF, it's significantly easier than if Nigeria wants to take the same amount from the IMF. Why do we have those conditions? Because there is trust issue, and there's also the fact that the economic situation in those significantly different. So this is just like, I've done something, but I don't believe that it is significant. It's not a significant step for a wholesome reform in the IMF lending practices. No, I don't think so.
Now, with the current geopolitical tensions and economic instability, how do you think this reduction in cost aligns with the IMF's role in global economic governance?
Yeah, IMF is a significant player with respect to the economic needs of the world and all of that. But we also have to understand that the IMF is not the only one who lends to governments. We have other lenders. And so while they're a significant player and they're saying, oh, we're doing this, we're giving this out because we feel the pulse of the economy, we feel that things are tight at this time, and we believe that this will significantly contribute to economic prosperity. I doubt that. I doubt it significantly, because at this time we should be looking at more sustainable financing models for especially developing economies. While we understand that we should not go cap in hand, but we also understand that for a long time now, especially in Africa, we have suffered resource exploitation. So if we want to make amends, give some sort of restitution, it's not just by 86% on such charges. No, I don't think that contributes significantly in any way.
Well, in as much as there is a reduction, it still does not take away the fact that it is still a loan. So what advice would you give to countries considering taking advantage of these reduced borrowing costs?
It's not just about the reduced interest and charges. Also, one of the things that I would say is that they should read the terms very well and not just go in because, oh, it looks like it. So imagine that a loan shark in Nigeria now tells you, oh, I'm now charging 3% interest. You have to be sure that the 3% interest is not monthly. So any country that is willing to take advantage of this reduced surcharge should be aware of the terms and ensure that their experts read and comprehend the terms very well before they take the plunge. And I believe that that's very significant. Also, I would say that if it's not needed, then don't take it. If you know that you can generate the fund that you need internally, it's better to do that rather than take it and then get. Because when we take these facilities, we are taking a part of the future today. And if we are unable to maximize and invest that part of that future today, it means that those coming behind would only just be suffering and be paying for something that they don't have value for. So, and that's not too good. So I would advise one word again, beware.
Well, economist Femi Oladele, many thanks for lending your thoughts on the program. That's it on this episode of the program. Many thanks for joining us. I am Okpeyemi Owosheni. See you next time.